Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And continue speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 7, Chapter 15. Does anyone remember what we read yesterday?
Hare Krishna. We read that Narad Muni was mentioning that whatever ashram one is in, he should do the duty of that ashram. And if it is not done properly, then either you can, the idea is that if you can change them, help them to change, or just pay no attention to that. And then what is the goal of human life, human body? It is to understand self and God, Supreme God. And we think that we are the body. So by cultivating knowledge and can understand that one is not the body and we are the soul, and we have fallen in this material world and covered by the three gunas, so we can be purified and go back to Godhead, and Paramatma is our best friend. And then you also mentioned that how and we also read that how Narad Muni was mentioning that all the body, mind and senses are the cause of all the bondage that we have in this material world. And you compared it, all the five senses were compared to the horses. The soul was the occupant, the passenger, the intelligence was the driver, and the mind was the determination to reach the destination. And senses are always looking for some object. And then also we read that how Rishabdev said that serve the Mahatmas, Mahat Seva, and the door to liberation is open by serving the great devotees. And spiritual, and Krishna says that have faith on what I am speaking, or else it will be, you will be in this material world bondage, like we'll be in the material bondage only, and have implicit faith on Guru and Krishna. And by following Krishna, we can go back to Godhead. And you also mentioned about we also read about the Nivritti Marg and about the designations, that the false designations that we are connected to. So the correct designation is that I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, brings us to text 42, today's text. Aksham Dashapranam Adharma Dharma
Aksham Dashapranam Adharma Dharmo
Chakre Bhimanam Rathinam Chajivam
Chakre Abhimanam
Ratinam Chajivam
Dhanurhitasya Pranabam Patanti
Dhanuhitasya
Pranavam
Patanti
Sharam Tujivam Param Eva Lakshyam
Sharam Tujivam
Laksham.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The 10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot wheels, and the top and bottom of the wheel itself are called religion and irreligion. The living entity in the bodily concept of life is the owner of the chariot. The Vedic mantra pranava is the bow, the pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. So this is, we are continuing with the chariot as you just mentioned, right? That intelligence is the driver, the self is the passenger, mind is the determination or the reins, senses are the horses. So now 10 kinds of air are the spokes of the chariot wheels. Top and bottom is religion, irreligion, living entity. So the conditioned living entity is the owner of the chariot. It's conditioned, that's why he's in the chariot. So the pranava is the bow, the soul himself. is the arrow and the target is the Supreme Being. 10 kinds of air always flow through the material body. They are called pran, apan, saman, vyan, udan, naga, kurma, krikala, devadatta, and dhananjay. They are compared here to the spokes of the chariot wheels. Like before, they would say, like, iske pran nikal gaye, because the life air, pran, is holding the soul inside the body. Actually, these life airs, the soul is surrounded by these life airs. So, the life air is the energy for all of a living being's activities, which are sometimes religious, sometimes irreligious. Sorry. Thus, religion and irreligion are said to be the upper and lower portions of the chariot's wheels. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because then the soul then decides, okay, now I have to fix my mind on Krishna. I have to revive my relationship with Krishna. So Krishna is the object. That's why he's the target then. He's the object of worship, of meditation, of love. In the conditioned state of life, one does not understand that the goal of life is the Supreme Lord. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu, dora ashaya hi bahir arthamanina. The living entity tries to be happy within this material world, not understanding the target of his life. So we go around wandering one body to another, one universe to another, one planet to another, not understanding what are we doing here in the material world. What is actually the goal? You're trying to be happy. Sometimes we find happiness, but that happiness is very short-lived. Soon misery comes. So, and we are searching for eternal happiness. We're not able to understand that actually we are searching for Krishna. Once we revive our relationship with Krishna, then we can be eternally happy. When he is purified, however, he gives up his bodily conception of life and his falsity and his false identity as belonging to a certain community, a certain nation, a certain society, a certain family, and so on. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life, and with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of pranava or the Hare Krishna mantra, he throws himself toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So either by chanting the Omkar or by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, offering oneself at the lotus feet of the Lord. So it's a very nice description the Upanishads are giving, that the arrow is the chanting and we ourself, the soul, the self is uh, I'm sorry, the arrow is the purified self, the soul, and the bow is the chanting. And then with the chanting, with the bow, we can throw the arrow far away, right? So with this bow of chanting, we can fall down at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The target is Lord Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented that because the words bow and arrow are used in this verse, one might argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity have become enemies. However, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may become the so-called enemy of the living being, this is a chivalrous pleasure. For example, the Lord fought with Bhishma, and when Bhishma pierced the Lord's body on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, this was a kind of humor or relationship of which there are 12. When the conditioned soul tries to reach the Lord by hurling an arrow at him, the Lord takes pleasure and the living entity gains the profit of going back home, back to Godhead. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, oh, we are saying bow and arrow. That means is it enemy or what? So Prabhupada, um, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that when Bhishmadev was shooting arrows to Krishna, it was feeling as if Bhishmadev is throwing flowers at him. And the Lord's transcendental body was also bleeding. One may say, oh, but his body is transcendental. What's happening? This is his pastime. This is his internal potency. Bhishmadev and Krishna, they have a loving relationship. The Virya Ras is there. So Bhishmadev wanted to see the Lord like that. Out of love, he is offering these arrows actually as flowers. And Krishna is accepting. He's accepting and he's reciprocating with Bhishma's love. So another example given in this regard is that Arjuna, as a result of piercing the Adhara Meena, or the fish within the chakra, achieved the valuable gain of Draupadi. Similarly, if with the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet by dint of performing this heroic activity of devotional service, one receives the benefit of returning home back to Godhead. So the Swayamvar, Draupadi Swayamvar, a difficult test was given because her father, Maharaj Draupad, wanted to find a suitable heir for her, a suitable husband for her. So he invited all great personalities and he kept this test that the eye of the fish should be pierced. The fish was inside the chakra, and that also can't look at the fish directly. You have to look at the reflection of the fish, and it's keeping on moving. And so then, just as Arjuna, he pierced this fish and he got Draupadi. Similarly, we, by chanting the holy name, if we can pierce ourselves to the lotus feet of the Lord, so then we can go back home, back to Godhead. I hope there's no confusion in this. Any comments? It's okay. There's comment about bow and arrow. Is all right?
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
So it was not a dharma like doing that. Right? That's what they're trying to say. Like how Bhishma was hurling
Yeah,
arrows, right? At
yeah,
Krishna. So it was
yeah.
actually out of love in this. And for Arjuna, also this part I am a bit confused. That
That's
Arjuna,
nice. That he
he
won the
pierced
hand of Draupadi. Like he
Draupadi.
yeah. So he got something when he pierced the fish. He got Draupadi. So similarly, if we can pierce ourselves at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, we'll get Lord Vishnu. Like that. That's the example that's given.
But then Arjuna was not piercing on Krishna,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Hare Krishna.
It's just to give an example. Hare
example.
Krishna.
Yeah, I just interpreted this. It's just my personal view. I just interpreted this Arjuna's bow as, like we are also in the material world. It's a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And we also have to be in this material world and chant and go back home to Godhead. So this is also kind of, what Arjuna was doing. He had to see the reflection of the eye of the fish, and he had to pierce the bow to the eye of the fish up above him.
Yeah.
So staying in this material world, we can also go back home, back to Godhead, doing our prescribed duties and, doing our devotional service, surrendering ourselves to the God. He is the original. We have to understand that. That's the point probably I understood from this bow and arrow.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
Hare
Thank,
Krishna.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Is that okay, Sneha?
Yes, yeah.
Right. Rago dveshascha lobhascha
Rago
Ragodushyascha
dveshascha lobhascha
lobhascha
shoka moha bhayam mada
shoka
shokammohabhayam
moho bhayam
madaha
mada
mano vamano suya cha
mano
mano
asuyata
mano suyacha
maya himsa cha matsaraha
maya
maya himsa cha
matsaraha
matsara
raja pramada shunnidra
rajah
raja
pramada
pramada
nidraha
shunnidra
shatravasva evam adaya
shatravatu
shatravasva
evam
evam
adyaha
adaya
rajastama prakritya
rajastama
rajastamaha
prakritya
prakritya
sattva prakritaya kvachit.
sattva
sattva
prakrityaha
prakritya
kvachita.
prachi.
In the conditioned stage, one's conceptions of life are sometimes polluted by passion and ignorance, which are exhibited by attachment, hostility, greed, lamentation, illusion, fear, madness, false prestige, insults, fault finding, deception, envy, intolerance, passion, bewilderment, hunger, and sleep. All of these are enemies. Sometimes one's conceptions are also polluted by goodness. The actual aim of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. But there are many hindrances created by the three modes of material nature, sometimes by a combination of Rajogun and Tamogun, the modes of passion and ignorance, and sometimes by the mode of goodness. Now, one may say, how come mode of goodness can be a hindrance? How come it's being called pollution? Okay. So, in the material world, even if one is a philanthropist, a nationalist, and a good man, according to materialistic estimations, these conceptions of life form a hindrance to spiritual advancement because one gets attached to this mode of goodness then. Yeah, it keeps us here. One gets attached to being a philanthropist or a nationalist or a good man, and then again have to take birth in the material world to do the same activity. So even goodness is is a bondage, but the mode of goodness. So how much more of a hindrance than our hostility, greed, illusion, lamentation, and too much attachment to material enjoyment. To progress toward the target of Vishnu, which is our real self-interest, one must become very powerful in conquering these various hindrances or enemies. In other words, one should not be attached to being a good man or a bad man in this material world. Comments? One should not be attached to being a good man or a bad man.
Just try to be a devotee, I think, because
Yeah,
otherwise everything will keep us in the material world.
that's right. Yeah. If we are bad, that will also keep us in the material world.
Mm.
If we are materially good, that will also
Mm.
keep us in the material world. Then someone will say, oh, that means I shouldn't do good things. But you said the right thing. Just be a
Mm.
devotee. Whatever we are doing, offer to Krishna. Connect it to Krishna. Do in relation to Krishna. Prabhupada was asked once, is this good or bad? He said there's nothing good or bad in the material world. Everything is bad. Yeah, because we are far away from Krishna. That is what's the bad thing. So the goodness also, if we get attached to it, it keeps us away from Krishna. So then now it said, one must become very powerful in conquering these various hindrances or enemies. It said that to progress toward the target of Vishnu, which is our real self-interest, one must become very powerful to conquer these hindrance or enemies. So what are some ways that we can become powerful to conquer these enemies? Enemies, lust, greed, illusion, lamentation.
Associate.
Yes, that's right.
Association of devotees and serve Krishna lovingly.
Yes,
Always remember, never forget Krishna.
that's right. That's right. Engage in devotional service in the association of devotees, hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. That can make us powerful to conquer these enemies. Association, very important. We can't do it by ourselves. So we need to hear and chant in the association of devotees. In this material world, so-called goodness and badness are the same because they consist of the three modes of material nature. One must transcend this material nature. Even the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies consist of the three modes of material nature. So the rituals which are prescribed in the Vedas, they're different, like different rituals are prescribed for people in ignorance, people in passion, people in goodness. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna, Nidvando Nitya Sattvasto, Niryoga Shema Atmavan. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Bhagavad Gita 2:45. So goodness also binds us. It binds us to the material world. We get attached to the sense of being happy, a sense of doing the right thing, So it attaches us in that way. So elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha. If one becomes a very good person, in other words, if one is in the mode of goodness, he may be elevated to the higher planetary systems. Similarly, if one is infected by Rajogun and Tamogun, he may remain in this world or go down to the animal kingdom. But all of these situations are hindrances on the path of spiritual salvation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. If one is fortunate enough to transcend all this so-called goodness and badness and come to the platform of devotional service, by the mercy of Krishna and Guru, his life becomes successful. In this regard, one must be very bold so that he can conquer these enemies of Krishna consciousness. Not caring for the good and bad of this material world, one must boldly propagate Krishna consciousness. Because the general people, the average person is very consumed by good and bad. This is good, this and bad, this is bad. But what we need to do is do the right thing, and that is devotional service. So that's why Prabhupada is saying, boldly propagate Krishna consciousness. So rise above the good and the bad. Rather do what is right. Krishna is saying, surrender to me. So that's what we need to do. And that's what we need to tell others also, to surrender to Krishna. Any comments?
We are so much into good and bad, like how we tag people. Oh, kitni achhi hai. Well, the first thing, if somebody has done something nice, then the person becomes very nice to us just in a second. And then if somebody has not been according to how we have expected them to, wo gande ban jate. In just a second we tag them.
Yeah.
But then even good and bad is not,
Yeah.
we have to rise above it. So like we have to look for ourselves first, because we do a lot of activities कि मैं अच्छा कर रही हूँ. Like
Yeah.
how our parents also used to say that do good, be a good person. अच्छे इंसान बनो. That is what we want from you. So I think it's important कि devotee बनना try करो. Try
Yeah.
to be a devotee. That is the
Then,
most important. अच्छा या बुरा नहीं, right?
yeah, that's right. So then someone may say, well, I'm being a devotee, so then I can do it in a, I can be, how to say, okay, I'm being a devotee, so I'll be rude to you, you know? So what do you say to that?
But I think a devotee, if it is a devotee, then it will be a little difficult for them, is it not?
Yeah, that's why. That's how we have to understand, because a devotee will see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. So devotee automatically has all the good qualities,
Hmm.
you know, as Krishna tells to Arjuna that you are endowed with the divine qualities. So that is what we have to cultivate, that kind of a vision, to see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. When it's Krishna's also saying that, right? Don't degrade yourself with the mind. See me as the super soul everywhere, in everyone's heart. So we can say that in that context, you know. So because someone may misunderstand and think, oh, then I don't have to be nice to people. No, we have to be nice. We have to be nice, kind, humble. We have to try to develop these qualities and engage in devotional service. Yeah. Is that okay?
One may call yourself, oneself a devotee, but doesn't act as a devotee, then,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
So that's,
devotee of this
yeah.
Krishna conscious, movement, but
But
doesn't
it's
act
her
as a
loss, right? It's her loss,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah, but then it's what an image now you're creating,
Yeah,
right?
agree. But it's her loss if
It's a loss, yeah.
it's her loss, because Krishna is watching everybody. Like we forget, and actually sometimes I think that we think that she's good or bad, but we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's true. We
We
don't know
we
what's
are we
behind.
cannot false find anybody. That's what we are doing wrong. Who gave us the right? Right? If she's wrong, then it's between her and Krishna. Who are we to decide? Sometimes I think that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong completely.
No,
No, it's
But
very easy to find, the person, like find fault in that person, which we
yeah.
yeah,
should
it's
not
very easy. It's
Yeah.
actually.
very easy. I
Yeah,
can find faults in anybody, and it's very easy to find faults in someone.
which
But
we should not actually.
which we
Yeah,
should not, because we are doing aparad.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's between the guru and that person. It's the guru's duty to tell. It's not. I have no right to say anybody anything like or false find. So I think that it's between Krishna and her. If she's not a good devotee, that Krishna knows. We cannot judge.
That's right.
We cannot judge.
Yes. That's
Is it
right.
right, Shilpa ji?
Yes, that's right. That's perfect. Yeah. We shouldn't fault find. Because then that will keep us, that stops our own spiritual growth, you know.
Yes. Yes.
When,
Yes. Absolutely.
the energy that we focus to fault find in others, that same energy, if we could focus in ourselves, we would advance very rapidly. We would actually, you know, go to Krishna very fast, because we engage a lot of energy in trying to find faults in that. So that same energy, we need to divert it and try to find our own fault and um, change them. Try to understand, oh, how I can get better. How can I please Krishna? Krishna will not like me if I have this quality. Let me try to, you know, cultivate qualities that pleases Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Also, if we are judging others as a devotee, not only you you fall otherwise, but also you're probably, by judging that person, you will also offend that person so much every day, every time when you go to the temple.
Yep.
So we have to be careful of that. That
Yep.
is something that Krishna will never want. So we have to not judge at all and understand this, what Shilpa is also explaining every time. He's in everyone's heart. Respect everyone, devotee or non-devotee. They all help us to go back home to Godhead. So just just chant all the time and hear from the scriptures. Keep it in your mind. Hold to that center of, Krishna all the time. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Shilpa ji,
Hare Krishna.
there is a story regarding this, Hare
Mm.
Krishna.
Ah.
If you remember that there was this king who had done a very big yagya and everything was very nice. He was serving food to the brahmanas and everything. And then there was the snake who flew from there and he dropped the poisonous, a bird flew from above and then dropped the snake poisonous, and that was mixed in the food, and a Brahmin died because of that. So now the Yamraj said that, oh, this king has been very good. Now, whom to give the blame of that who died? So he said, okay, let's see, because they didn't know that who to be blamed for that death of that Brahmin. So now Yamraji was going in the city and finding out that what actually happened. So then he was moving, and then there was this one old lady. She said, "Pata hai." Oh, he disguised as a Brahmin, and then he was going, and then the lady said, "Oh, don't go to that king. He's the one who kills the Brahmins. He served them the poisonous meal, and they die. Don't go there." And then now Yamraji said, "Oh, now this is the person who will get all the result of what the king has done." So rather, we should not speak.
Mm.
We should not give our judgments because there is no need. And then the lady got all the result of that bad karma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. We're putting
Because
ourselves
she
in a
told.
lot of danger. Huh?
Is it because she told that
Because
not to?
she made the she said it.
She
She
assumed it,
assumed, yeah. She
Yeah,
assumed it.
assumed.
And she
Okay.
instructed them that don't go there, don't go there. This is the king who kills, without knowing the truth. We don't need to make, actually, we just speak without even thinking sometimes. So this is the problem.
That is there, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
And then
said, right?
we
Be
get the result.
silent. That's what was said. Be
Silent,
silent if you want to
Be
engage.
silent.
silent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And we get the results. We don't know what we are,
Yeah.
like, like even if we are listening someone's if we are listening somebody being criticized, then we are getting the result. Criticizing is definitely wrong. We are getting the result. All the good karma transfers to that person. But even hearing is so much powerful. So even if we are hearing, that is very, very powerful. And then if we are assuming things without anything and we say, that is even more harmful. So
Yeah.
these are all very harmful things.
Like Raghunath Das Goswami would never want to hear any criticism of anyone. He said, if it is criticizing somebody, don't tell me. If it's not beneficial, I don't want to hear. Yeah. You wouldn't hear it. So silence. One may say, then
Just
what? I cannot talk anything or what? Well, silence. Silence means actually, Prabhupada would explain, because people do mourn vrat, right? Okay, I'm not going to talk about anything. But he
Yeah.
said actually real silence is talking about Krishna. That is real silence, because in that way we can keep on talking how much ever we want. We all love to talk, talk about Krishna. And
Oh,
that
I
is
think
the real
silence
way.
means something not relating to Krishna. Then you be in silence, right? Then
Yeah,
you be
yeah, yeah.
silent,
Yes.
right?
So,
Yeah.
and also when one is talking about Krishna, one is
Then we can.
actually being silent.
Oh, okay. That
Also,
okay.
yeah, that is the real silence that when we talk about
When
Krishna.
someone is okay.
Yeah. And,
Mm,
So
mm.
in regard this, Shilpaji, I have one more question what we read. So can you please explain that part?
mm,
That I was just hearing Amrendra Prabhu about the friends who did the so good that they got the body of the friends of Krishna. So the good here means that they did the sukriti, the not the good in the material, not
yeah,
the punya, but
yeah.
the good in the
Devotional
spiritually
activities. Yeah,
devotional activity, right?
yeah,
That is the good here, right?
yeah,
That's the result, that they got the body of a friend of Krishna, right?
yeah.
Not the material goodness.
No,
Okay, yeah.
no.
Thank you.
Sometimes what may happen though, what may happen is because somebody is doing materially good, then he may attract the mercy of a devotee. And then the devotee may start giving him some knowledge that, instead of trying for this material good, you try to be a devotee. And then one may start devotional service and do more and more devotional service. Make sense? But of course,
Yes.
yeah. But of course, one needs to do this devotional piety for a long time, like that, and can get a personal association of Krishna.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because no matter if we continue doing a lot of material piety, it will just keep us in the material world only. It's just going to take us to heavenly planets. Then, once we only engage in spiritual, devotional activity, then that can uh, bring us into Krishna's association. Okay, stop here for a minute.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna, yeah,
Hare
because
Krishna.
these three modes of material nature will always be there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It is there. We cannot, I mean, it's nothing that we can't get out of it,
Yeah,
but right?
that's right. So then how to do? What shall we do?
Devotional, right?
Yes.
Engage in devotional service
Yeah.
to rise. So,
Yeah,
because these
because
hindrances will be there.
always,
Yeah.
always, because everything we are doing is affected by the modes.
Yes.
How we speak, how we eat, what we drink, you know,
Yeah.
everything is affected by the modes. And that's why Krishna is saying, Devi Yasha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam taranti te. So he's saying, you surrender to me, and then you
Oh,
can rise above the modes.
that's,
So devotional service.
yeah, very nicely it was explained now. I mean, that's what we read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
That the goodness also binds us. Like
Yeah,
we did, you get attached to it. Yes. Yeah.
exactly. Goodness binds us,
Yes.
to be doing good, and then we are
Mm,
known as a good person. And then that binds
yeah.
us also, that attachment to be called a good person. And we
Yeah.
naturally feel good. When we
Yeah.
do
That's
good, we
true.
are feeling good. So then we get
True.
attached to
Very
that
true.
feeling.
We get attached. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We get attached to
Yeah.
the happiness which comes from the mode of goodness.
Mm,
So that is also binding. Yeah.
mm.
Okay. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you all for listening and joining.